Hey everyone, John Krasinski here. Like many of you, I love a good underdog story. And there's no greater story than the power of a single vote. It's how we, the people, make our voices heard. Your vote helps choose the leaders who represent you. These leaders make decisions that impact your daily life, from schools and parks to healthcare and jobs. Your vote shapes the future. But here's the thing, this right wasn't just handed to us, it was fought for, hard-won, and continues to be a battleground today. Because your vote, it's not just a right, it's your voice. The journey of voting rights in America is a long and winding road, full of twists, turns, and hard-fought battles. In the early days, only white men who owned property could vote. Can you imagine that? Talk about exclusive.
Thankfully, things started to change. The 15th Amendment, adopted in 1870, granted African American men the right to vote. A huge victory, but the fight was far from over. Women, tireless advocates for change, finally secured their right to vote in 1920 with the passage of the 19th Amendment. It took the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to truly enforce the 15th Amendment, outlawing discriminatory voting practices. These milestones remind us that the right to vote is precious and hard-won. Let's honor their legacy by understanding the past and fighting for the future of voting rights.
Throughout history, countless individuals have dedicated their lives to expanding the franchise and ensuring equal access to the ballot box.
Think about Martin Luther King Jr., a towering figure in the civil rights movement. He understood that voting was essential to achieving equality and justice for all. His powerful words and unwavering commitment inspired millions to join the fight for voting rights.
Then there's Susan B. Anthony, a pioneer of the women's suffrage movement. She faced ridicule and arrest for her beliefs, but she never backed down.
And we can't forget John Lewis, a true American hero. He endured brutal beatings and imprisonment during the fight for voting rights in the 1960s.
These are just a few examples of the many individuals who have fought tirelessly to protect and expand voting rights. Their stories should inspire us all to continue the fight for a more inclusive and just democracy. While we've made significant progress in expanding voting rights, the fight is far from over. Today, new challenges and barriers threaten to disenfranchise voters and undermine our democracy.
One major hurdle is voter ID laws. While presented as a way to prevent voter fraud, these laws disproportionately disenfranchise minority voters, elderly voters, and low-income voters.
Another challenge is gerrymandering, the manipulation of electoral districts to favor one party or group over another. This practice undermines fair representation and makes it harder for certain communities to have their voices heard.
Then there are issues like limited access to polling places, reduced early voting periods, and voter registration purges.
It's crucial that we stay informed about these challenges and advocate for policies that make voting more accessible and equitable for all. Remember, a healthy democracy depends on the active participation of all its citizens. Let's work together to overcome these barriers. Section 5, Your Vote, Your Community, Shaping Your Local Landscape. Now you might be thinking, okay, John, I get it, voting is important, but how does it really affect me? How does my one vote make a difference in my community? Think about your local schools. Your vote helps choose the school board members who make decisions about everything from curriculum and teacher salaries to school budgets and after-school programs. Or how about public safety? Your vote determines the leaders who set priorities for your local police and fire departments. And let's not forget about parks and recreation, those vital green spaces that bring us together. Your vote influences who manages these spaces, how they are maintained, and what kind of recreational programs are offered. The point is, your vote has a ripple effect. It starts in your community, shaping the policies and services that directly impact your life. Section 6, the national stage making your mark on the country. Now let's zoom out a bit and talk about the impact of your vote on a national level. Because here's the thing, the decisions made in Washington, D.C. have a profound impact on all of us, no matter where we live. Your vote in presidential, congressional, and senatorial elections determines who represents your state and your values on the national stage. These elected officials make decisions about everything from healthcare and education to the environment and national security. Think about issues like climate change, gun control, and immigration reform. Your vote helps determine the direction our country takes in addressing them. Your vote also influences the selection of Supreme Court justices who interpret the Constitution and shape the legal landscape for generations to come. So when you cast your ballot in a national election, you're not just choosing a candidate, you're choosing a direction for the country. You're deciding what kind of future you want for yourself, your children, and generations to come. Section 7, don't be a bystander, why your vote matters. Now, I know what you might be thinking, my vote is just one vote. Does it really make a difference? And to that I say absolutely, every single vote matters.
First off, elections can be decided by incredibly slim margins. Think back to some of the close elections in recent history. In some cases, a handful of votes in key districts determined the outcome.
Secondly, voting is about more than just winning or losing. It's about making your voice heard and participating in the democratic process.
Thirdly, when more people vote, it strengthens our democracy as a whole. High voter turnout shows that the people are engaged and invested in their government.
So don't let anyone tell you that your vote doesn't count. Every vote is a testament to the power of democracy, a voice that deserves to be heard. Section 8, every vote tells a story, amplifying marginalized voices.
One of the most important things to remember about voting is that it's not just about individual choice. It's about collective power. When we vote, we're not just representing ourselves. We're representing our communities, our values, and the voices of those who often go unheard.
Think about the historical struggles for voting rights. Women, African Americans, and other marginalized groups fought tirelessly to have their voices heard at the ballot box.
Today, it's our responsibility to continue that legacy by using our votes to amplify the voices of those who are often marginalized or excluded from the political process. This includes communities of color, low-income communities, immigrant communities, and LGBTQ+ communities.
When we vote, we have the power to elect leaders who will fight for policies that benefit everyone, not just the privileged few.
Remember, every vote tells a story. Let's make sure those stories are heard loud and clear.
Section 9, it's your right, it's your responsibility, get out and vote. So, we've talked about the history of voting rights, the challenges we face today, and the incredible impact our votes can have on our communities and our country. Now, it's time to talk about what we can do to make our voices heard. First and foremost, get registered to vote. It's the most important step you can take to participate in our democracy. Once you're registered, make sure you know your voting options. Can you vote early? Do you need to request an absentee ballot? Where is your polling place located? And don't forget to spread the word. Encourage your friends, family, and neighbors to register to vote and make a plan to cast their ballots. Share information about voting rights, candidates, and important issues on social media. Every voice counts, and we need everyone to participate. Remember, voting is not just a right, it's a responsibility. Section 10. Resources for voters. Empowering yourself with information. Navigating the world of voting can sometimes feel overwhelming, especially with so much information and misinformation out there. But don't worry, you don't have to be a political expert to cast an informed ballot.
First off, check out your state's official election website. You can find everything from registration deadlines and polling place locations to sample ballots and information about the candidates and issues on your ballot.
Another great resource is the nonpartisan website vote.org. They offer a wealth of information about voter registration, voting by mail, and finding your polling place.
If you're looking for unbiased information about the candidates and their positions on the issues, check out websites like Ballotpedia and Vote for One.
And don't forget about your local library. Libraries are fantastic resources for voter education. The more informed you are about the voting process, the more confident you'll feel casting your ballot. Section 11, the future of democracy. Your vote is the key. As we look to the future of our democracy, one thing is clear. Our votes are more important than ever. The challenges we face, from climate change and economic inequality to political polarization and threats to our democratic institutions, require active and engaged citizens. Your vote is not just a drop in the bucket, it's a ripple effect. It's a statement of your values, your hopes, and your vision for a better future. It's a way to hold our elected officials accountable and demand progress on the issues that matter most. But voting is just the first step. We need to stay engaged in the political process year-round. Democracy thrives on dialogue, debate, and a willingness to listen and learn from one another. So let's use our voices, our votes, and our collective power to create a more just, equitable, and sustainable future for all.